Biggest offseason questions for all 30 teams. NBA.com writers break down key storylines and questions heading into the 2022 offseason. Atlanta Hawks. Will the Hawks get a defensive-minded swingman to satisfy their biggest weakness? Keeping the opposing team from getting easy buckets became a nightly adventure for the Hawks, who ranked 26th in defensive rating. This was a hurtful revelation to a team that advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 seasons ago and then had to fight through the play-in tournament. It didn't help that DeAndre Hunter, the designated swingman stopper, missed 29 games, and wasn't especially terrific when on the floor. With Trae Young being victimized because of his lack of size and strength, the Hawks are desperate to find a backcourt mate to cover for him. Atlanta will be active on that front and dangle a surplus of young talent, starting with John Collins, to entice a willing trade partner. In a perfect world, they'd get someone like the Spurs' DeJounte Murray, an elite two-way player. But his kind costs a lot. Sean Powell. Boston Celtics. Can they fill their need for another playmaker? Memories of the Celtics sabotaging themselves with turnover after turnover are still fresh from the 2022 finals. Marcus Smart outlasted a bunch of predecessors and is a tough, two-way player, but he's not a point guard in the classic sense who makes teammates better. He's often off the ball as well, particularly on tough shooting nights, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown initiating the offense with sporadic success. GM Brad Stevens would like somebody more capable of running the pick and roll and attacking off the dribble, but the mid-level exception might limit his options. The Celtics could use more scoring punch off the bench as well. Steve Ashburner. Brooklyn Nets. Will the trio of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons ever materialize on the court? It's unclear, with Irving pondering whether to exercise a $36.9 million player option by the June 29 deadline. We've heard the rumors of talks slowing between Irving and the Nets brass on a potential max extension, and if the point guard departs, it could lead to other moves that likely won't improve a team coming off a disappointing first-round sweep by the Boston Celtics. Brooklyn will already have one of the league's most expensive rosters, which means it will be looking this offseason to add bench players instead of potential upgrades. Bruce Brown will be an unrestricted free agent, Nick Claxton is restricted, and Patty Mills has a player option for 2022 to 2023. Michael C. Wright. Charlotte Hornets. Is the rim protector savior already on the roster? The last player in a Charlotte uniform who frightened anyone at the rim was Alonzo Mourning, who, and this is a half-joke, is probably still better right now in retirement than anyone on the Hornets roster. That says plenty about the Hornets and their inability to protect the paint. They used first-rounders in the last 2 drafts to find candidates, but those raw youngsters might be years away. If the Hornets are serious about making a jump in the standings next season, they'll need to spend assets to get more immediate help through a trade or free agency. Otherwise, one of those recent draft picks, most likely Williams, must grow up in a hurry and handle the immense responsibility for a squad that suffered too much defensively last season. That's why the Hornets, despite being one of the league's most exciting teams, couldn't survive the play-in tournament. Sean Powell. Chicago Bulls. Will Zach LaVine be with the Bulls when the smoke clears? LaVine hasn't been a max player for Chicago as far as impact, but he's been awfully close in production since arriving from Minnesota in 2017. Given the market, he has a decent claim on a max deal of 5 years, $212 million. The Bulls may have legit concerns about the long-term health of his left knee and haven't been shy previously about trying to seek hometown discounts from incumbent players. Kind of inconceivable that a team that made such strides last season would mess up now, but Chicago doesn't control the situation either. Steve Ashburner. Cleveland Cavaliers. Does Colin Sexton get re-signed and find his fit? For 3 post-LeBron 2.0 seasons, Sexton was the best Cleveland had about whom fans could get excited. But his warts were showing, too. His passing and his defense paled next to his scoring, and he didn't get an extension last offseason. Then bad got worse with the 6'1" shooting guard tearing his meniscus to miss all but 11 games. Lo and behold, the Cavs had a revival season without him, coalescing around Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Could Sexton be satisfied with a lesser salary than the 4-year, $100 million he allegedly had in mind last year, and would he deign to come off the bench? At what price would Cleveland just let the restricted free agent walk? Steve Ashburner. Dallas Mavericks. Was the addition of big man Christian Wood enough? Winning its first playoff series since 2011, Dallas looked to upgrade at center and acquired Wood for the 26th pick along with Boban Marjanovic, Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, and Marquese Chriss, all players on expiring contracts. Wood averaged 19.1 points and 9.9 rebounds in 2 seasons with the Houston Rockets and provides some punch for a Mavericks squad that might be a little too reliant on superstar Luka Doncic, 37.4% usage rate last season. Wood represents a solid first step, but it's not enough if Dallas fails to lure back 25-year-old guard Jalen Brunson, an unrestricted free agent. Brunson was critical in the Mavs' postseason run and will generate significant interest in free agency. Michael C. Wright. Denver Nuggets. Will better health propel the Nuggets back into contention? It should, but Kroenke Sports & Entertainment Vice Chairman Josh Kroenke mentioned in early June the Nuggets are headed into a championship or bust phase. Which means the club needs Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to return to form alongside 2-time Kia MVP Nikola Jokic to reach such lofty goals. Murray missed the entire season and Porter played ineffectively for 9 games before undergoing season-ending back surgery. Without its second and third leading scorers, Denver still managed a 48-win season and a first-round exit with Jokic carrying the team on his back. The franchise clearly wants more, and adding more depth should help in that endeavor. Michael C. Wright. Detroit Pistons. Can Detroit's young talent finally begin winning? Trading veteran forward Jeremy Grant helped the Pistons reap Jalen Duren in addition to Jaden Ivey on draft night. This came on the heels of adding building blocks Cade Cunningham, Saddiq Bey, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley III, Hamidou Diallo and more in the past couple of years. There was barely a blip last season as Detroit improved merely 1 place in the East standings, from 15th to 14th. Chatter about Phoenix free agent Deandre Ayton has hushed, so some medium-priced help for the kids with the cap room the Pistons have might be as splashy as it gets this summer. Steve Ashburner. Golden State Warriors. Are the Warriors willing to spend big to keep their championship team intact? This is unofficial, but the Warriors probably set a professional sports team record for payroll last season. When you also take into account being a luxury tax repeater and the financial penalty that comes with that. Obviously, it was money well spent by the 2022 NBA champs. And now, guess what? They need to open their wallets a bit wider. Such is the cost of being great, and the Warriors' ownership has always said money is no object if the team is positioned to stockpile championships. That's good news for Andrew Wiggins, who has 1 more year left on his contract and is open to an extension, and Jordan Poole, who's still on his rookie deal but is extension eligible. One player the Warriors must act on immediately is Kevin Looney, an unrestricted free agent. Looney was solid during the playoffs and the big man would find suitors on the open market if he went looking. Now it's up to the Warriors to pay him, and swallow the luxury tax hike by doing so. Sean Powell. Houston Rockets. Where is Houston in its rebuild? It's still early with the Rockets capturing 37 victories over the last 2 seasons. But you've got to be optimistic about the future after a productive draft featuring the acquisitions of Jabari Smith, Tari Eason and Tidy Washington to compete alongside promising first-rounders such as Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. and Alperen Sengun. Trading Christian Wood to Dallas netted the Washington pick, and the salary cap situation in Houston doesn't really open up until summer of 2023. There's a good chance the Rockets view this process as moving along faster than anticipated. We won't know for sure until we see how the latest draft picks fit alongside the young talent already on the roster. Michael C. Wright. Indiana Pacers. Where will Malcolm Brogdon wind up, and will Miles Turner be moved, too? The Pacers didn't grab headlines with their maneuvers on draft night, but they still are on the rebuild track with a roster heavy on guards. So Brogdon is almost certain to be traded to free up reps for Tyrese Haliburton, Chris Duarte, Buddy Hield and others, including rookie Benedict Mathurin, the 6th pick. No Indiana assessment can be complete either, without speculating on Turner's whereabouts. Sending off Domantas Sabonis in February hasn't squelched rumors of Turner's availability, though the Pacers might be wise to see how Turner fares with the logjam cleared. Steve Ashburner.